All right, and we are back with Sonali Sahu, a solutions architect here at AWS, who's going to be talking to us a little bit more about some of the exciting launches in the Amazon Textract space. Yeah, sorry, lost it there for a second. Sonali, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, why don't we open up with you telling us a little bit more about sort of what you do here at AWS? We're gonna go into background at for Textract and some of the new exciting shiny stuff. But tell us a little bit about what you do here.
Sure. I'm Sonali Sahu. I'm a enterprise solution architect and as well as machine learning specialist. So that means I work in and out with AWS AI services, and Amazon Textract is one of those.
Wonderful. And, Amazon Textract, obviously one of, for those that are familiar, obviously, one of our managed AI services. And that entails a lot in terms of level of abstraction and how much the customer has to really own and manage. Could you do us a favor and give a quick overview of what Textract is? Because I know it's not necessarily very new, but this feature is definitely quite exciting.
Sure. So Amazon Textract is a AWS fully managed, as you told, AWS machine learning service. So what it means, like it can extract the content from your documents, virtually any type of documents. I would say it goes beyond just simple OCR, optical character recognition, because it can extract now table type or form type field from your, those are structured or sometimes semi-structured field from your documents as well.
Yeah. So to make this, problem statement and solution sort of, paired very nicely, the ability to say, hey, I have this document, it's been printed out, I want to be able to understand the words that are on that page, that would fall under OCR, optical character recognition. But when we're talking about data that's maybe in tables or in a form, like you mentioned, the context and sort of like matching a sort of like prompt to an answer or a key to a value is a hard problem, and Amazon Textract is pointedly aimed at solving that. Correct?
Yeah. Like it is like it can find the relationship between the key and the value. For example, like you have a name is a key and value is like Sonali Sahu.
Mm.
So it can find those relationship and can tell you. So that's one of the beautiful thing about Amazon Extract, I would say.
Can you give us a broader examples of how customers are using Textract in production?
So it's a various different use cases, like various different industry, in fact, use it differently. But most of the customer, they go with, starts with the optical character recognition, like it will give you the list of words that it detects. In addition to that, some customer has a requirement of detecting a table type, like rows and columns from your document. Some customers have requirement to get like key value pair, as we discussed just now. So those kind of requirement. Another customer example I would say is like Amazon Textract can give you a bounding box feature, like where exactly this field is in your document. So that's another useful feature of Amazon Textract.
One of my favorite implementations that I have seen with Textract actually goes right along with that bounding box feature that you just mentioned, Sonali. So, when we talk about sort of the alternative to automating, data entry, I guess, or like data understanding or optical data understanding. Like this would typically be a very manual process in most instances, right? Someone looks at it, they then re-record manually in some capacity. One of my favorite parts is that as a part of the response that Textract returns with the different blocks for the words and characters and keys and values is a confidence value. So what you can actually do is you can build business logic on top of Textract that says, hey, if nowhere in the document returns any confidence lower than 80% or 90% or whatever custom threshold you want, have that go straight through and process. Now, if there's a part of it, if there's a block that's present that doesn't exceed a certain confidence threshold, you could then easily build an application that puts that document in front of someone and they don't have to review the entire document. You can sort of obfuscate the rest of the document and just ask them to solve that. So it's like this human in the loop factor. I know, Sonali, when we spoke previously, there's a very particular integration with another service that we'll get to later. But again, sort of you can buy into this automation of the process through Amazon Textract and still be able to have that, careful eye that you may want to have on top of it as either a second check or in scenarios where the confidence isn't what you're interested in.
Yeah. And moreover, like the bounding box feature can be useful for the compliance and control. Like you want to redact or mask those information, like regulated industry, healthcare industry, you can think about. They want to de-identify those information, and that's where like that bounding box feature comes very handy.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, Rob.
Yeah. Now I understand that Textract initially launched with English support. Is that right?
That's right.
Can you take us through kind of what your plans are for language expansion and language support?
Yeah, so I'm really excited today, like few hours before, I would say, like we officially announced like language expansion. With that, Amazon Textract now supports like printed documents in Spanish, Germany, Italian, French, and Portuguese language, in addition to English.
So that's how many or what X increase? We went from English, which was 1, to Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, German, English. So from 1 to 6 languages. So that's a very, very exciting launch. I can only imagine lots of customers seeing the value proposition and saying, hey, I love it, but when is it coming to my language? And so this is certainly a big leap forward here for Textract's sort of global usability.
Global usability, yeah. Like if you talk to our customer, right, the user base is like all over the world. Like I was talking to one of our customers, he just told like, hey, English support is good, but I have also a requirement in like Spanish language support. And I'm so happy to tell my customer like, hey, now we support Spanish as well.
Wonderful. Well, again, just new compatibilities, new languages, always a great value proposition. But, in this segment, we've got something pretty unique. I know, and I have heard from a little birdie that there have been more than just language support in the realm of launches. I may have slipped a little bit when I said handwriting in the opening. But this is more than just additional languages, right, Sonali?
That's right.
Yeah. So, on the aspect of security, I think there was a security-oriented launch for Textract. Is that correct?
That's it happened like a couple of weeks before, but okay. It's still new, I would say. So we recently, like a couple of weeks before, Amazon Textract like supports got something called VPC endpoint or via AWS private link with Amazon Textract. So with that, what actually happened with VPC endpoint is like your traffic doesn't traverse over the internet anymore. So it stays within AWS backbone. So that's that, I would say, a very critical feature for our customer.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense before, especially if customers are trying to process documents with sensitive information, right? The ability to redact certain areas is nice, but I'd imagine there's additional requirements to achieve compliance with regards to data residency and how that is traveling between different parts of your infrastructure.
Yeah, and in fact, this requirement originated, I would say, from one of my healthcare customer. So they have a hard requirement on traffic not to traverse over the internet. So with that, like we brought that to our service team, and now you can see it is implemented and already announced.
Yeah, and just to kind of back up for a second, VPC, private link, what we're talking about here, you see this feature with a lot of services on AWS. What this allows you to do is basically create a virtual network that spans your on-prem network as well as your AWS VPC, and that will create, and that all travels over the Amazon global network in a way that your traffic, it's almost like you have your own internet over which to transfer your data. So really, really useful feature for building these kind of security critical applications.
Yeah, and moreover, the data that is traversing, like we have the encryption in transit all the way, like with TLS support. So it makes it really secure, and you can use your private IP address for the elastic network interface that Rob mentioned just now.
Wonderful. Well, the one that I think jumped out most to all of us, and I think really just becomes like the not exactly Turing completeness, but like I think just like the final leg of the problem when dealing with these types of data like that have like forms, keys, and values is that a lot of the times people fill in that information by hand, right? And I've dabbled enough in OCR to know that when you're sort of you try to train on glyphs and known sets of what you will then be looking for, and for certain fonts that are particularly ones that are typed, this is largely a tractable problem, right? You can try and collect sample data from all of these different fonts, scan it in different ways, but handwriting feels like a whole new ball game. So first, tell me, pinch me, is it real? Does Textract now have the ability to read handwriting naturally? And two, how does this work? What are the constraints? What are we looking at here?
So I do agree with Nick, with you in this case. Like handwriting support is one of the most requested features of our customers, I would say. So yes, it is real. Amazon Textract can now extract like printed text and handwriting from documents written in English with really high good confidence score.
Suddenly, would it work for my handwriting? Because my handwriting is terrible.
You tried that.
Yeah, and I think the use cases here, like this feature obviously highly requested, but I think the use cases it opens up are monumental, right? Like, whereas before, if it's all printed documents, there's so much unlocked data that is printed in paper already that we were largely not able to index. But now I think this sort of broadens the horizon where you can automate sort of not just point of sale, but like point of contact, where let's say at your like healthcare office or your local DMV, motor vehicles department, right? Why is that line so long? I don't know, but I would guess part of it has to do with manual data entry and collection and filling those forms out, right? So this excites me because I think this is something that could impact all of us, whether we're developing an application with it or we just go on sort of in the world living our lives, right? This seems like there are so many practical applications for it.
That's true. That's true. For example, like just giving one example in this, like you have like medical intake form. We have through this, right? That will be printed name and you write your name against it with your pen or pencil. Similarly, like employment application form and all. So those forms has both printed as well as handwritten text. And as you mentioned, like it will take care of those heavy lifting for you using this handwriting feature of Amazon Textract.
Wonderful. So, if my memory serves correct, with Textract, I was able to send an image or a document, maybe from S3, or I could just send the bytes for it to the Textract endpoint, and it will return all of that structured data to me. So, either I use the SDK or I can use the CLI. Does this experience change much at all for folks that want to detect handwriting?
I'm glad to tell. Probably no, because of course I'll ask my users to look into the API documentation as well. But we are not changing the input request for the API or CLI. So you just call into the API like how you are calling it, and you will get both printed text as well as handwriting text together in the API. There is a change to the response of the API response. In that, we have added a field called text type, which will tell you like whether it is handwriting or it is printed. So if you have a requirement like to extract, you want to segregate whether it's handwritten or printed, of course you can go through the parser and can parse it with that field type.
That's really cool. I feel like that, like one thing that just jumped out when I heard that is like automating the extraction of like signatures at the bottom of documents, right? Where most of it's probably printed and then you're just looking for the signature, for example. That's pretty cool. I'm also thinking, yeah, it's I would imagine that it going back to what I was saying before about like sort of human in the loop systems, there's naturally more variability in people's handwriting than there are on, just printed glyphs and characters, right? I'd imagine that in a human in the loop system here, you may want to automate the extraction of all the keys and the values. But then if you wanted humans to take a second look at certain parameters, maybe that would more likely be the handwriting, right? And so being able to easily just filter on the text type field and say, okay, I'm just going to highlight or leave in all of the handwriting, that could be pretty cool.
Yes, Amazon Textract has integration with Amazon A2I or augmented AI, I would say. And it makes it easy to build a workflow for a human review in this case. And moreover, like you can filter out on the basis of like confidence score, as you told, like a threshold. Mm-hmm. Like if this is below this threshold, for example, below 85%, send it for a human review. Or might be you have like any sensitive information or sensitive field. It might be you want to verify your SSN number from the document. You involve your human in the loop to review it. And moreover, like you have options to include your different options to how you can include the human in the middle. One can be your own employees. Another one can be like any contractors from the marketplace. So, and I would say like it helps to get to the market really faster.
Awesome. Well, I think we can talk all day about it being able to Amazon Textract being able to read handwriting, but this is one that I think would demo pretty well. Sonali, if you're up for it, could you show us processing some sort of document to read that handwriting?
Sure, I can.
Awesome. Oh, 1 second. I think I gotta let you share your screen. Cool. You should be good now.
Let me share my screen. Let me know when you see my screen.
Yep, you're good.
Good. So I'm happy to tell you that this sample is already uploaded or updated on your AWS account, might be. Please go and check now. So this is the default Amazon Textract dashboard. So here in the left-hand side that you see is a sample document where you can see there is printed text as well handwritten text. And on the right-hand side, we will see how the output would look like. So for example, if I click on the raw text, you can see like all the fields has been extracted and given to you. And if I click on one thing, like the corresponding field is highlighted here. And as we discussed, like bounding box feature. So it is leveraging the bounding box feature of Amazon Textract underneath. In addition to that, let's click on this form type. Here I clicked on this form and you can see like, hey, home address, 123 any street, any town, USA, what a name. And full name is gender. So those are like key value pairs kind of things it can extract for you. Let's click on the table type. This sample document has a table in here and which has both printed and handwritten text. So now if you can see over here, like you have all the fields, those are being extracted. Let me click on one field and we will check here 1/15, 2009, and see here, like it's a handwritten text again. So it's just a quick demonstration and you can do the same with your sample, I would say.
Wonderful. Yeah. And, I never get a chance to talk about this until I have not gotten a chance to talk about this until today when we've had a Textract oriented launch on here for the first time, I believe. But one of my favorite parts about the Textract console is the ability for people to actually try it out on their data without having to write any code. Because, like developers' time is valuable, or even other folks in the organization that may be thinking about it or watching this episode, they may not want to write code or be able to. They can go into the Textract console and just upload an image and say, oh, wow, this is, I think this is what we need. This solves our problem. And being able to test on a lot of data without having to be too invested in it is something that I would love to see across some of the other consoles. And I think it's become more of a trend, especially in the managed AI service side. But love to see this newly launched feature just hours ago, and the demo in the console is already live.
Yeah. And moreover, like you can do the same with your API and CLI.
Yeah, definitely. And so that app that we saw is really just a like a light front end that is visualizing a lot of the metadata that's returned in the response body from the Textract CLI call. So like you said, those bounding boxes that were highlighted are 4-point coordinates that are available in the blocks that Textract returns. There was no sort of smoke and mirrors there. You can build that very same thing directly atop the data that a single Textract API call will return to you.
Yeah, and one thing that was really impressive about that was you had talked about the table parsing feature, and what's interesting is that the table included labeled columns, but then it had a row that was typed out and then 2 handwritten rows, and the parser was able to recognize that this is a table with 3 rows of data, not 2 headers, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and moreover, like your table doesn't have to have the lines. It doesn't depend on the spacing between the cells also, because how a human being would read a table, right? Amazon Textract can deliver the same result for you as well.
Now, I can't wait to play with this because I love testing these corner cases. Next time I use this, I'm going to go in there and draw a table in one of the fields and see if it reads it as a table.
Rob's gonna draw a table inside of the name field and see what it does. He's gonna try and break it. That, or he's gonna automate his local DMV. I don't know. The jury is still out. One or the other. Awesome. Well, Sonali, this was wonderful. Again, we love having launches as close to the launch date as possible. And if memory serves correctly, we are just a few hours out from when this Textract handwriting feature has launched. So I'm sure it's been quite busy over on your side, but the pleasure is always ours for being able to show this off to our customers who I know, we're following along in chat. No questions to share, but lots of great feedback from folks that are very interested in this.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, this was only session 1. We have 4 lined up for the day. We wish we could spend more time diving deep on ridiculous, handwriting that I could try and break Textract with, but that will have to wait for another time. So coming up next, I know we have some folks that were asking about it in the chat. We have AWS Gateway Load Balancer. So we're going to go right to a quick holding screen, but we will be back in just a minute. So stick around and we'll see you all shortly.